Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 23rd of November. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, this is a video for paying subscribers at CTM The Bigger Picture substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right, great. Let's have a look at indices here. Now, the markets have opened up this evening, and of course, we've got, I did mention in my post last week that obviously the stats for next week are pretty bullish. It is Thanksgiving week, and the stats lean bullish on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is closed for Thanksgiving, and Friday is a half day. Although that half day leads neutral. But altogether, it's a pretty bullish leaning week. Now, the question is, how far will this rally go? Obviously, I was talking in the pre-market review on Friday about it looking fairly bullish for a move up, and we had a number of buy signals, although I'm still having an issue with my data. So, but nonetheless, you could see the buy signals, and we had buy signals on ES and NQ, weak buy signals, but nonetheless buy signals. RTY, YM, we had a full one. And we still had open buy signals on DAX and ESTX, although they'd reached the possible near miss targets already. Yeah, but not quite reached the 30 levels, so I hadn't signed them off yet. Anyway, delivered so far. At the time of recording, we're up 28.25, and obviously we've got pretty bullish stats for next week. Now, this has got potential implications if the market can get up far enough. We will see how that goes. Nothing really in the terms of reversal patterns I'm seeing here, but let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, looking at ES. Obviously, if we see a big rally, the first thing I would be looking for is a move to test the daily middle band. I've got that at 67.92, so there's still 130 points above. But there are other things to consider here. In terms of the SPX daily, I've got the daily middle band at 67.63, 160 away, but I would note that we had a number of head and shoulders break down. Now, in the event they break down, and we had a number of head and shoulders break down across various indices. Now, in the event that these fail, that would mean that we made a high over the right shoulder high. Now on SPX, that's at 67.70, and of course, as I said, we've got the daily middle band at 67.63. That one's going to be a tough one to take out, and you need to go up a long way for it. In terms of the Qs, we've got again a pretty high right shoulder. It's pretty much where the daily middle band is now, and we need to probably get above the daily middle band to get above it. On Dia, less hard. We've got the right shoulder high here at what would that be? That would be at about 469. I've got the daily middle band at 470.87. But get above that, and again, I mean, normally when head and shoulders like this breaks down, then I would be looking for a retest of the high. But there is another option here. I think as long as the SPX and NDX ones hold, then the option here would be that we could be forming an alternate right shoulder on Dia, and that could look like this. So we could break above that and still have a valid head and shoulder pattern, which might be forming as an alternate, and that is something you would quite regularly see. All right, let's have a look at IWM. Now, IWM, this one is actually pretty close, and I don't have a really obvious alternative for the head and shoulders here. But we've got the head and shoulder, right shoulder up here, and I've got that in about the 239 area, and we got up to almost 230. Well, we got up to the 237 area at the height of the rally on Friday. It's likely going a bit higher here. This is the one which is most vulnerable to failing, but if it does fail, of course, we already had the head and shoulders, which had originally broken down and not made target, and I would initially go back to that one, and that's got a right shoulder high at 246.38. But if we see a very bullish week next week, we could well see all four of these head and shoulders fail, and if that happens, the obvious next thing to do would actually be to retest the all-time highs across the board. So that is what I'm going to be watching out for next week. and we will see how that goes. Here, for instance, if we do see a break above here, this is actually a double bottom breaking up, and I would be marking it in accordingly with a target which should get it pretty close to the all-time high. Not there, but within range. We've also got a potential double bottom on dire here. So if we see a break above this high here, which is in about the 468.5 area, then again we've got a target which should maybe take us up to about 477. In terms of the Qs, it's a weaker double bottom, but again, potentially, and that would have basically a target back up at a retest of the high in the event that it broke up with a break above the rally high last week. And if we did that on SPX, again, we'd have a double bottom, pretty decent looking here, although a bit oversized. And again, we should have a target at a retest of the all-time highs. So really, we've got a fairly, purely on the pattern setup, I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest of the lows. The bullish next week, I was talking about it in my post last week, is this being a potential fly in the bear's ointment, and it is. We will see how that develops, but we've seen bearish activity get through some pretty bullish looking historical statistics before. The question is whether we do that here. If we do, I'm really liking these downside targets. I love this target here on SPX, which actually hits a big potential head and shoulders at 6,200. And it's nice. It's really pretty impressive. And it also gets us back basically to the start of this this smaller rising wedge from the August low at 62.12. These are pretty nice looking targets. There's not just these either, because if we have a look at DAX and Nikkei, on DAX, we have a head and shoulders which has broken down, and again it's a nice one, and this one's got a target at about the 21,850 area. On Nikkei we've got a possible head and shoulders forming, and again it's nice. It hasn't broken down yet, but if it does, that would have a target at about the 43,550 area, I think, more or less. So these are all nice patterns, and what the bears are fighting here, though, is the Santa rally as and when it starts. The question is it starting here? If it does, we can see retest the all-time highs, although I think we'll probably still be in a larger topping process. If it doesn't, we can see these downside targets, and I'd be looking for those really in the week or two after Thanksgiving. Because we're going to get at least some bullish tape generally. I'd be looking really for a move to the next targets and then a rally into the new year. Or at least minimum into Christmas. We shall see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX has retested this high, and we've got a real two-way setup here, where we can either see a hard fail that takes us all the way back to the lows, or we continue higher, and this heads up into about the 104.05 to 15 area. And this is an inflection point, and this could go either way. Short term, this looks like a double top. If we see a sustained break below the double top support here in about the 98.85 area, then we would get a move down to 97.25 area. And if we see that, there's a pretty good chance we will fail back into the lows, which would not be good news for the dollar. How are we looking on the other currencies here? USD. Not got a double bottom here. If we went a little lower, which would be DX going a little higher, we could get a nice looking double top here, but of course it would weaken the one on the US dollar. No particular reversal pattern here on GBP USD either. We haven't really gone low enough to set up a double bottom here. On USD JPY, this has been powering up, but I do have a pretty decent looking rising megaphone here. I'm wondering if this might be a bearish pattern which sooner or later breaks down into retracement. On USD CAD, almost reached the stage where we could have a double top here, and we've broken up from a double bottom which has got a target basically at a retest of this high. So I'd be leaning towards seeing a bit higher on DX before we saw a reversal, if we are going to see a hard reversal. On Australian dollar, possible falling wedge here. We've retested this low. This could be a larger double bottom, though a little oversized on this chart. NZUSD retested the low, could be a double bottom. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. And USD, obviously the bigger picture on USD is that we've come down, we've tested this big megaphone support, which basically is from the rise after the financial crisis. So, you know, the low here was in 2008, and the low for this megaphone was in the 2011 low. We've broken down slightly there, and I'm looking for a reversal pattern. And we've got a really nice bull flag. And in normal circumstances, I'd be leaning pretty strongly towards seeing a retest of this high here at 114.78. These are not normal circumstances, and it may be that government policy in the US is going to drive down the dollar, but far from a done deal at the moment. We've got a monthly RSI 5 buy signal fixed. I've still got a weak RSI 5 buy signal fixed on the weekly chart, and we've got a lovely looking double bottom, which is now trying to break up. So this one here, I was talking about this being second low of a double bottom, and so far we've moved up and we have broken up from that double bottom. And we've got a target which is open now and fixed in the 104.05 to 104. Actually, no, 104.40 area, 104.10 to 104.40 area, I think. We shall see how that goes. But if it does get there, then we would have another inflection point where we would see whether or not we would break up further towards the real target here, which should be the retest of this high here at 114.78. But it may be that it can't make that target against government policy. But if it doesn't make that target, of course, if this bull flag fails and heads down, then of course this could be the topping pattern. And actually, that would be a topping pattern with a target which would be down in the 80 area. So I'm bearing that in mind too. But that would be, but generally speaking, if you've got a bull flag, 70% of the time it's going to break up into the high retest. And I've seen some pretty wild high retests over the years where you really wouldn't have expected to see them. That made a double top and then just went up, made a target which frankly looked improbable, and then failed as the topping pattern was completed. We shall see how that goes. But in terms of that bull flag on USD, we've got a matching bear flag on EURUSD. We've got a matching bear flag on GBP USD, and they're nice. I'm giving them a shot. We're testing the monthly middle band here on GBP USD. If we're also testing, I think, the monthly middle band. No, we've not quite made the monthly middle band on EURUSD. And on the we haven't made the monthly middle band on the dollar. But if we get there, and I've got the I think the 50-month moving average and the monthly middle band crossing basically at about 102.7. That's a possible resistance level where we could see a fail on the way to that 104 target. We will see how that goes, but at the moment we're in an inflection point, and it's well expressed on this US dollar chart that we will either this is a bear flag setting up a retest of the lows, or this is a double bottom setting up a test of the 104.10 to 104.30 to 40 area. We shall see. All right, in the short term, EURUSD, no divergence. Nice looking double top here, hasn't broken down yet, isn't that close either. GBP USD, no positive divergence. USD JPY, no positive divergence. Negative divergence. Got no divergence on the daily on USD CAD either. Really, we've been seeing some fairly sideways action on a lot of these, and on the daily charts, we're not really seeing a lot apart from on NZ, possibly the least significant in terms of the US dollar, where we've got some buy signals fixed, and we've got potential little level bottom here. Although on the bigger picture, I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest this low if the dollar does manage to break up. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at bonds. Right, bonds have been trading sideways for much of November. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed here, and I'm wondering about a move down. We will see. On ZN, we've got a very nice looking overall double top here, showing absolutely no sign of breaking down at the moment. And ZB, decent looking possible asymmetric double top, or we could be forming a larger head and shoulder pattern. Either way, there's plenty of good prospects for going down. It's just not actually going down yet. In terms of the bonds charts, I've got looking at the shorter term bonds charts, really, we've got a on TYX, no current divergence. We've got a possible flag here. I am wondering about a possible asymmetric double bottom here, or possibly a rally on bonds and a pullback on the TYX yield while we formed a second, well, on a right shoulder on a possible inverted head and shoulder pattern. Looking at TNX on the daily chart, no current divergence. Again, we could be forming, we've got a potential lower bottom here, could be forming an IHS. On the hourly chart, pretty much the same. TLT, we've reached a significant resistance level here. We're pulling back. Nice looking rising megaphone. Next obvious target would be down at this megaphone support. In terms of topping pattern, could be a head and shoulders forming here. But in the shorter term, if we are going to see a rally on bonds, I've got a nice looking double bottom here, which is suggesting we could see a retest of this high. And that again could set up a second high of a double top. We shall see how that goes. That would make a nice looking top and pattern, but that of course would be a significant rally on bonds. But we are on ZB in this consolidation, and if we do see a if we do see a break up from here, the obvious target would be a retest of this high here in about the 119.18 area. All right, let's have a look at the CL chart. Right, looking at CL, we've got a falling megaphone here, which might be underthrowing here. Initially, I was thinking this was a bull flag, but it's now too large to be a bull flag. It may be that we're seeing the start of a breakdown. So we've got a weak 60-minute buy signal fixed, and we've got one fixed on HO as well, and we've got one fixed on RBOB as well. These are all suggesting higher. I did have what looks like a bull flag here on RBOB as well. That one's broken down. These are at very different stages, though. They're all looking fairly similar at the moment, but actually they're not. HO has had a massively larger run to the upside than the other two has. On CL is actually pretty close to the lows, and RBOB has done a decent retracement, but again, actually had a pretty solid move to the upside. Let's have a look at NG. NG, I'm wondering about a retest this high to make the second high of a double top, and I'm still thinking we might see that. Could this be a head and shoulders? Possibly. But it wouldn't make a particularly nice one. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal, and actually, since the market's open tonight, this has now reached the possible near-miss target. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on WTIC, obviously on the bigger picture, we've got a bull flag, and we've got a bull flag on heating oil, and we've got a bull flag on gas oil. And I've been talking about these forming bottoming patterns, which they've all been doing. And on WTIC, this is the decent-looking double bottom, although I wouldn't be surprised to see a retest of the low, but this one's pretty close to the low. If you have a look at heating oil, actually, you've got a big IHS here, and that's actually broken up. It's broken up with a target in the 3.38 area, and this has actually had a pretty impressive move off the low. This may actually breaking up. We've seen a bit of a rejection there, but we've got a weak buy signal, and I am wondering if this might continue to break up, or it could be failing into another retest of the low. But I've got to say, this came up a long way. It got up to 2.71 from 2.15. It was an impressive move. It's more than the other two managed. In terms of gas oil, obviously we've got the same overall pattern, and we've got a nice looking double bottom here. But again, this is more like CL, where it's not that far off the lows. We had a pretty impressive move up, but obviously this was lower than, we never saw a full low retest on heating oil because we had an IHS forming. We have seen a low retest here. I am wondering about retests of the lows on both gas oil and CL, but I'm not wondering about that on heating oil. We shall see how that goes. All right, heating oil, of course, with the winter coming in, it may be that that's getting an extra boost because of that. In terms of natural gas, I'm wondering about a possible oversized double top here. We reached the monthly upper band. We had this period of going into December, which is basically we're through. We're now into the January contract on natural gas, and we're through really any of this seasonal period. And really, we've got a period where this is trending down for months from now. And we'll see how that goes. We reached the possible near-miss target on the nat gas weekly. I'm thinking we may be about to see a significant reversal here. Now, that would be improved if we saw a retest of this high here. That could get us we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed already on the natural gas daily and an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, but retest that high, and that could give us a pretty nice looking second high of a double top. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at metals, where on GC we've just been going sideways, really. I was talking about the possibility we could do an ABC. We could do that, but I was thinking that the most likely time to see that would be while the market was heading down seriously, and that may not have finished, and we may well get another leg down. But I've got to say, on the last leg down, the move down here wasn't particularly impressive. We may well have a triangle forming here. I'll talk more about that on the bigger picture charts. This could be a bull flag forming on silver here. On palladium, this could have been a inverted head and shoulders forming. It now looks like a potential double bottom forming, and it's a pretty nice one. And this has been holding up pretty well. On platinum, this looks like a potential, falling wedge forming. It's not a flag because it's too large, but decent. We could get a pretty nice looking double bottom forming if it actually fully retested this low, but arguably this could already be a double bottom. The reason I like the second low to be lower on a double bottom is not really so much because it needs that to be valid. It's because it means it's harder to confuse with a bear flag forming. Which otherwise often there's a very big crossover, and it could be one or the other. Looking at HG, very nice looking double top here, showing absolutely no sign of breaking down here. And again, I was thinking that equities having a significant drop would drag this down more than it actually managed to do. We will see, but it's still a nice looking double top, and I still think the obvious next move is down. All right, let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. And on gold, we've been consolidating. I've drawn in a possible triangle here because I think that may be what we're forming here. And gold often forms triangles. You see another triangle here. You see another triangle here. This could be a further triangle. And I'm wondering whether that's forming here. That might not. These trend lines might move, but I think this may be a bullish consolidation triangle before this heads higher. Looking at silver. We've seen a bit of a pullback here, but we've almost got back into a retest of the high. Could we be forming a triangle here? Yeah, we could. This could, however, be a double top, but again, the second high was lower, so there's a significant possibility this is also a bullish consolidation. Looking at palladium. Palladium, we've seen a nice pullback, hasn't got close to the highs here as yet. Could this be forming a triangle as well? Potentially, yes. Although if this goes a little lower, this could be a falling wedge forming. So on platinum, nice pullback too. What does that look like? This could easily be a triangle. And doesn't really look an awful lot like anything else. Looking at copper, this is a nice looking double top. If this broke down, it would set up a potential retest this low here at 4.31, and that would be the way I would be leaning, because I think we're heading back into this trend line here in about the 412 to the 413 area. We'll see. That's the obvious read on this for me now, and we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, which is supporting it. All right, looking at GDX, hasn't retested the high yet, but the obvious next move would really be to retest the high. On daily chart here, we've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, which hasn't reached the possible near-miss target yet. Nothing really happening on the hourly chart. GDXJ on the weekly chart still could be an ABC down. Otherwise, I'd be looking for a retest of the high. Daily chart, we've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed here, and that hasn't reached the possible near-miss target yet. Do we have a possible topping pattern here? Yes, but it's not. It's an ugly head and shoulders, and it's not matched by one on the GDX daily chart. So is less credible for that reason. All right, and also the other thing is we actually had a head and shoulders here and it broke down slightly, and that was a decent one. Next obvious target would be a retest this high here at 85.08, but sometimes you will find you just form a bigger bull flag instead. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. KC is still kicking around. We made the double top target, and we've seen a big reversal from there. No current divergence, but I am wondering about a possible retest this high on SB. We've got a double bottom which is broken up here, and we've seen no sign that that's not going to make target. This kind of looks like a bullish consolidation. So I'm still leaning towards that making the target in the 15.43 area. On CC, we've been trickling down, and I was saying that there was a possibility this was just going to go down because there's quite a lot of downward pressure on the bigger picture charts. I'll talk more about that. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed, which has really delivered absolutely nothing so far. No obvious reversal pattern forming, and I'm still leaning towards this going down. CT, it says lost all of my trend lines, which is kind of annoying. Why has it done that? Hang on, wait a second. Okay, my trend lines are back. All right, CT, we've got a possible falling wedge here, pretty decent looking one. So I'm thinking we might see a bit of a rally here, but on the bigger picture, I've got a downside target, which may well need to be made. On lumber, nice looking falling wedge here, actually. And I'm thinking this might again deliver a rally, but bigger picture, I'm still leaning downwards like CT. On ZW, we've got what looks like a flag which may be underthrowing with a move to the monthly pivot. If so, the next obvious move would be up to retest this high here at 567.5 to 568. On corn, this looks like a potential bull flag forming. Week 6-minute buy signal fixed, although that hasn't really delivered a lot so far. On soy, possible topping action. Week 6-minute buy signal fixed here too. ZL, rolled this into January. Again, this could be a bull flag forming, and again, we're finding support at the monthly pivot so far. Live cattle, nice looking falling wedge. And this could break up into a rally, or this could actually, looking for a reversal pattern to form, this could set up a move back up to go back up and retest these highs. On live cattle, nice looking, well, less nice looking now that I've rolled it into February, but this is a decent looking falling wedge, and we'll see how this develops. This is a potential little level bottom here, and we've got a week 6-minute buy signal fixed. Right, let's have a look at these on the bigger picture charts. And coffee, on the bigger picture, there is a lot of room to the downside. Historically, this is a high that is a high for the last 50 years. Although, if you were to look at the highs over the last 50 years in inflation-adjusted terms, then it wouldn't be a high. But it still looks out of place and high on the chart. So I'm thinking this is a nice looking double top here. We could go up and retest this high here at 4.408, or we could just fell from here. We do have a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed on the weekly chart. On the daily chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. And I think either we go back up and retest this high and possibly this one, or we head down. But I'm thinking if we do go up and retest this high or this one, then we go down afterwards. We shall see. All right, looking at sugar. Sugar has a head shoulders with a rather worrying upper target in the, basically to retest this low here at 905. We'll see, but every time we have got a nice looking bottoming setup here, it fails lower, and it may continue doing that until it reaches this target at 9. No current positive divergence on the monthly chart, although the RSI 14 sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. Looking at sugar, sugar on the weekly chart, we've got a decent looking falling wedge, and I've got a possible alternate here on the daily chart. These are suggesting we might see a rally. I've still got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed. We did actually get a rally on this RSI 5 buy signal, but that's already made target. That's got us back above the daily middle band, but that if it goes back below, then that could easily be lost. And we're failing at the weekly middle band here. We shall see. So potentially promising stuff in terms of a reversal back, short-term reversal back up, but we've seen these fail before. This one may well fail too. On cocoa, again, by historical standards, this is pretty rich stuff. In terms of price, we saw a big breakdown below the 6427, and we're now down slightly below 5,000. No positive divergence, and we're still on a monthly RSI 14 sell signal. Overall, I'm leaning lower. No current positive divergence on the daily chart, but I do have a pretty nice looking falling wedge here, and I'm watching to see if this might deliver a bit of a rally. Bigger picture, though, probably continuing down. On wheat, we've got a double bottom here, which is broken up with a target in the 575 to 580 area. This looks like a bullish consolidation so far. I'm leaning towards this heading back up into that target after this bullish consolidation is finished. And we've got a potentially much larger double bottom here, which with resistance in the 617.25 area. Looking at corn, broke up over wedge resistance. Could see a retest the low here, set up a second low of a nested double bottom, but we could just head straight up into double bottom resistance at 504.50. I am thinking both of these, wheat and corn, might be pretty impressive performers next year. They've seen some very serious downside, nice bottoming patterns. I think these definitely have a shot for a very decent 2026, and I'll be watching out for that. On the daily chart on corn, still got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix. Not really seeing that as much of an influence one or the other, but I am looking at this IHS here. Broken up towards a target in the 495 area, and not seeing anything compelling to see that suggests that isn't going to make target. Soybeans, I had a nice looking bear flag which has been forming all year until Trump ruined it by making a deal with the Chinese. So this has gone up on the expectation of 12 million tons of soybeans being bought by China. They haven't actually bought those 12 million tons of soybeans so far, but they probably will. So this could well deliver more upside as and when that happens. In terms of the daily chart, I would say this is less encouraging. This is an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Neither of them has made the possible near miss target. We're testing the daily middle band here, but if we lose that, then we can see a larger retracement. I wouldn't have an obvious reversal pattern for this to make target, but I do have a possible target at 1090, which is established support and a possible head and shoulder neckline. All right, looking at cotton. Cotton, we've got a nice looking. We've broken up from a falling wedge. This fell over 2/3 from the high here. No, slightly under 2/3 from the high here at 158. And we've got a nice, it's broken up from the falling wedge. It's got a nice looking double bottom, but it looks like it wants to see a retest of the low here anyway. That would set up a smaller and less satisfying double bottom, but nonetheless, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. Nonetheless, this is a nice bottoming pattern, and I'm thinking cotton can also have a pretty decent year next year. Lumber, we've been forming a 2-year, almost 3-year bear flag here. In fact, actually, if we fail to break front down from it till the end of December, this will actually be a 3-year bear flag, pretty much. This has already made 2 highs here. A double top has broken down with a target in the 355, 360 area, and we've already got, if we break down from the bear flag, that would also trigger a target at a retest this low here at 35250. I'm thinking this is going to deliver. I think obviously the housing market in the US is not looking that good at the moment. There are also sizable tariffs on Canadian lumber. There's every reason for this to go down. So I'm leaning towards that happening, but we haven't broken down below the flag support yet. In terms of the smaller picture on the daily chart, this is the double top. It's broken down. These are the targets a long way below. And at the moment, we've just been consolidating since we broke down. But we have made a lower low. And my suspicion is this will continue down in the not too distant future. All right, let's have a look at crypto. Okay, crypto, I've got, we've made the target on, we've made the target on the double top on Bitcoin. Now, I was saying on the target here that if we did make that target, it would mean that we'd seen a solid break below the 50-week moving average. And if we saw a solid break below the 50-week moving average, then, well, the last time after a bull market, the first time we saw a solid break below that was after the end of the bull market. This bull market looks as though now it is ending or has ended. We could still see a retest of this high here. Alternatively, we can come down to close to this low here at 74.4 and hit the possible head and shoulder neckline, set up a head and shoulders there. We will see. But what I would say is that this has still been positively correlated with equities, and equities are seeing a rally at the moment, and they could see a stronger rally next week. What are the prospects for that happening? Well, I don't have any positive divergence on the daily chart here on Bitcoin. We did have some positive divergence on the RSI 14, but that is also already delivered in the rally that we saw on Friday. In terms of Solana, we've got a clear target below at the head and shoulder target, which is down at 95, and actually below that, I've still got valid double top targets, which could take us down into the 72 to 42 area. So potentially we've got a lot of downside coming, but short term, we've got possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing on the daily chart, and we've got a potential level bottom here. I'm just thinking we could see a pretty solid rally here, which could get us back up into the 165 area. That would get us, well, first we need to get over the daily middle band, which I've got at 144.86, but there is potential for a decent rally here, and if we do see a very strong rally on equities, we could see that happen. Doesn't mean we wouldn't be coming down to 95 afterwards, but we could see a strong rally here with obvious targets if we got high enough at the 200 DMA at 179 and the 50 DMA at 174. We will see how that goes. In terms of the hourly chart, nothing really to report. Is this a good looking falling wedge? Not notably. But we do have a potential little level bottom here. We will see. All right, looking at Ethereum. Ethereum, we've got downside targets as well. We've broken the 50-week moving average as well, and it looks like we're probably going to confirm a close below when we see the official weekend in a few hours. In terms of, or actually, has that just ended? Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Yeah, it has just ended. Right, Ethereum then has seen a first break below the 50-week moving average, but it wouldn't be hard to rally above it. We would need a second close below next week to confirm that. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence, but obviously we've got a head and shoulders target significantly below at 2050. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 5 buy signal fix, but it's already reached, RSI 14 buy signal fix, but it's already reached the possible near-miss target. Really, we've only got strong positive divergence on Solana, and that's not really enough to hang a general rally on. But in terms of what we're seeing on equities here, that could be enough to hang a decent rally on. I.e., we may see that decent rally on equities, and if we do, that'll probably, to a degree, carry crypto with it. So we'll see. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Wednesday.